What an amazing day of Test cricket from the Gabba to Hyderabad, all across the lands from here to there. An incredible day of Test cricket. Somehow England have won the game by 28 runs. It was on this show yesterday, Pezza, where we were saying, who the fuck saw that coming with Ollie Pope? He's finished his day with 196 today. Incredible innings. Joe Root saying one of the best of all time. That's the benchmark. And then we were saying last night, well, the only thing this needs now is a Tom Hartley seven-fer. and he's finished with 7 for 62. And he's finished with 9 for 190 in the match. Is that good? Is this good? I mean, as an Australian, there are really no winners here. I mean, especially our view count, according to the result today. But those are two incredible games finishing in the same time today. But England coming from behind like that, man, that is a famous English win, Sam Perry.
It's one of their best ever wins in Test cricket. Here goes. This is a famous victory for England. Let's spare a thought for Australia and India, as the world often should when it comes to cricket. It's that handshake Twitter meme thing, or whatever the fuck people do with that. Mm-hmm. I've always said we have a lot in common with India. And today it's getting cucked on our respective home grounds. Well, our game was closer. I can't really tell which was more embarrassing. Probably ours. But
is Hyderabad a fortress? Do we know?
Probably not. But yeah. I like this is what's funny about this video. So rarely do we cover two tests at the same time, where the chief trollers of our content also lose unexpectedly at home on the same day. So we're in no position to be giving India any shit at this point, and India's in no position to give us shit, really. Now, shit will still be given. Let's all licks have to be taken. Mm-hmm. It just means it's a fucking fantastic day if you're an English person or a West Indian. And dips me lid, hats off, pants off. It's what I've been saying for a long time. Here goes. England were in a 190-run deficit in India on the first innings. This is an extraordinary win for them. It's annals gear. It's dine out stuff forever.
Pezza, it's the first time in their history that India have ever lost a test match whilst having a 100-run-plus lead in the first innings. Now, that does sound like it goes for a bit too long to be a good statistic, but that is genuinely shocking and also shows the power of India. We know leading into this series, they've only lost 3 games in the last 10, 11 years, something like that. We know the record. And then to be from that position, wow. I mean, fuck me dead. Pezza, TGC is brought to you by Hell Energy Drink.
Oh, yeah, I hope so.
It's the highest selling energy drink in India that's available in a can. Available in more than 60 countries across the globe. It's the first beverage developed completely through AI. And if I can throw to you using one of the patrons' name at patreon.com/greatcricketer, if you want to do that, their name is Roll the Clip.
Did you think that the power that brought you here had given up on you? But when would you believe in yourself if not at the finish line? Why hit the brakes when there's still fuel in the tank? Because the power that brought you here is still in you. All you need is a little spark to go like hell. Hell Energy.
Thank you very much to Hell Energy Drink. Gives you power like hell. I tell you what, the English boys feel like they would be feeling like they have power like hell at the moment from that win. That is, I mean, if you before the game had said, no, not before the game, whilst it was happening, Ollie Pope was going to nearly get a double 100 in one of the most remarkable innings in the history of the game, and Tom Hartley was going to start landing them and take 7 for 60, and England were going to win with 30 in the bank. Well, you can finish that sentence yourself. you'd be a very rich man if you're a gambler, which I'm more of an emotional gambler myself. So,
Amen.
I mean, fucking hell. I mean, if you're an English person in the Caribbean or a person from the Caribbean in England, this is savor the moment stuff. This would be one of the happiest days of your life.
Mate, I mean, just if we could talk about the cricket for a second. Like,
Okay, let's talk about the cricket.
in the second innings for each team of this game in Hyderabad, like one team looked far more dominant, aggressive, and accustomed to conditions than the other. Like when India batted in this final innings, Tom Hartley and Joe Root like had the home team like tentative, pushing, locked into the crease. Tom Hartley had the square seam bowling going. They created the like, there's a ball with your name on it environment. When England batting, I was watching proactivity, flicks, brooms, scoops, laps, all of those things in reverse as well. And there were in-out fields. The scoreboard was moving. Aksar, Jadeja, and Ashwin were going at 4s and 5s the entire time, if not more, during little spells. And I have to say, this is where the rubber hits the road with what people refer to as BAZBALL, what the English team would want you to refer to as their mindset. When Ollie Pope batted like that and guys batted around him like that as well, that is where the game turned. India was unable to execute that boa constrictor-like pressure with their spinners owing to the skill of Ollie Pope and the fact that they had to set less attacking fields because of how he was able to manipulate them. He was only able to do that. And let me make this point as well. So many other batters in the history of the game, particularly in modern cricket, have tried to do what Ollie Pope could do and ended up looking very silly in an attempt to do it. So the skill of him being able to do that was unbelievable. But in doing, he's not able to do that without the environment created by his team. That's just a fact. We have not seen India reversed after a 190-run deficit. That is the most substantive piece of evidence for the quality of whatever brand of cricket that England is playing. And that will last a long time. India has got its work cut out figuring out how to get around this now, particularly now that England's been able to bring a spinner in and the other one was just held back due to visa stuff as well. Can I just say, while on a bit of a roll, he goes like, the deepest of credit to Ben Stokes' captaincy, like how we chortled with Doritos bouncing off our protruding bellies at the start of the game, or at least in the first innings when Tom Hartley was hit for a 6 off his first ball, was going at 8s, going at 10s. Stokes kept him on. He let him bowl overs and accustom himself to the game. He didn't hide him or send a message to Tom Hartley saying, I don't want you or your skills in this game. It's, you're not right for what we need. He keeps him on. He takes the loss of Tom Hartley. But if he doesn't do that, Tom Hartley isn't able to come on and feel whatever comfort he felt to clean up in the second innings. That is like for any spinner who has craved a captain's support and a captain able to ride the shit times, like this is one of the great examples of captaining a spin bowler as well. I mean, I'm just giving flowers because that's the level of victory that this is for England. It's a massive, unfortunate for Australians, seal of approval for the way they're playing their cricket.
There's something about Ben Stokes as well. I want to talk about Ben Stokes in relation to running out Jadeja as well. Least of all, just the way it happened, and also he had knee surgery 2 months ago. There's going to be a thing with Stokes at the end of his career where his numbers aren't going to be like he's not going to be in the top 10 of anything, and that's part of the poison chalice that is being an all rounder where you don't really excel at one craft, but like he has been one of as an Australian, he's the one that scares us the most in Ashes series, right? Because whilst his numbers are like I can say politely middling, he consistently wins you games. And so now his captaincy is doing that as well. But this moment in the game where he runs out Jadeja with a backward flick, and then Jadeja looks like he's done a hamstring.
Yeah,
So
he's
look,
actually
popped a
caused a
string.
hamstring injury for Jadeja as well.
I don't think there's any coincidence that England win the game against India, and they've actually taken down Jadeja. Jadeja has conceded the most runs in his career in India in this game. They've actually somehow managed to target the very weapon that like the pitches are suited for. The team centres around Jadeja batting at 6 and bowling all these key overs, nearly with a new ball, such as his skill set. And now it looks like he's going to be out. They're going to be missing Kohli and Jadeja, though. I mean, Jadeja might be okay, but it looked like he did pop a string. So with only a 1 week turnaround, that's interesting. But I don't think there's any coincidence that they've managed to target India's best player and they've won the game.
And
it's
if he
still
didn't,
taken a fucking heroic effort.
If he didn't actually, just occurred to me then, he goes, I say this dangerously, if he didn't actually pop a string, was he just actually like some of those 100-meter runners who realise they've not won the race, so just sort of pull up, just at the top of the. I mean, if he turns up for the next game starting on Friday, what was actually happening? Something to think about. Like, far be it from me to question Jadeja's integrity. He's done a hamstring. He's going to be out for a couple of matches. I doubt he'll be able to turn up the next game.
Yeah. I did think, I was just trying to think when I started to believe that this was going to be a thing, that England were actually going to do it. And it just sort of highlighted to me how fucking hard it is to beat India in India when you've got, because Aksar came in at 5 and then Ashwin's batting at 9. Ashwin's got 5 test hundreds. 4 of those against the West Indies and 1 against England. And he's also got a 90 red against England. I think that might have been, I actually can't think when it was, but not batting at 9 and the guy's got 5 test hundreds. And even then you're thinking like, no, I can see a way for it. I can see a way forward for this, for India. I can still see how they can win this game from here. And then I guess Ashwin and Siraj feel like they had a tea time at Royal Hyderabad on the course tomorrow, because then they were like, nah, fuck it. I don't care if it's the last over of the day. Probably just run down the wicket here to Hartley and give it a whack, and folks does the rest. But yeah, I suppose just looking at the lineup of India, it's still like, fuck, it's so hard. England won the first game of the 4-match series last time they were there, so it's happened before, and India won that series pretty comfortably in the end. But fuck this, it just feels like there's momentum for England now to win this game. Wow, I'm blown away by the quality of the cricket today, both in Australia and in India.
And that is a major difference between the last series and this series. England played extraordinarily well in the first test of last series. I cannot remember too much about it other than Joe Root was just kind of like unstoppable, and in that vein of form where he was tickling Len Hutton's balls kind of thing. This is different in the sense that like India knew they could dial up their strengths of spin bowling in that series, which from memory they did, and everything kind of assisted it around that. This time it felt like a fairly turning deck assisted England and brought them into the game. If India sort of pulls the lever the other way and flattens out the deck, how many England bats do they bring into the contest by doing that? And it's hard to know which lever to pull for India now. If they now that England have a spinner or two into the series, it's just hard to know which way India goes from here. And they were discombobulated and knocked off their equilibrium by the dizzying effects of successful BAZBalling. And it wasn't done, recklessly from England or anything like that. But it is something that India hasn't seen before. Australia experienced it as well, and I expect Australia will experience it at home when England comes out. But in and of itself, it is just a historic, famous, remarkable victory on what is such a, you have to say, just such an excellent day for the possibilities of Test cricket. It is 2 unlikely away victories from different countries, and the emotions that go into it, the build up to it, is unparalleled in terms of what the game can produce and the opportunity that Test cricket affords people to show their skill not only in the moment but over a long, sustained period of time. Again, is unrivaled. I think the Test will be remembered for Ollie Pope's innings, and after that, Tom Hartley with 7 on debut and finishing with figures of 9 for after his start. So you just have to say it's incredible credit to England for what they've done. The commentary is going to be painful and nauseating if you're a tribal Australian, which lots of us are to different extents. And all you can say is that licks have to be taken. Look, I'm happy with what Australia has achieved in the last 12 months. I'm not swapping it for anything, but you have a day where you've been rock and rolled by international fours, and England's won in Hyderabad, overturning a 190-run deficit. England's going to do what they do, and licks have to be taken. It's as simple as that.
Look, it's just you're completely right, Pezza. The team that we support sometimes has just given us some of the great memories in the past 12 months, but it does feel like today, what have you done for me lately?
Oh,
what have you
big
done
time.
for me lately?
I can't remember a fucking thing they've done.
I'm going to get the Travis Head poster in the studio tomorrow and burn it down. As mentioned before, Pezza, about like how hard it is to beat India in India, but now it does feel like if it is a case that Jadeja is out for the next Test match, there will be no Kohli and no Jadeja, and also Shub McGill is really struggling at 3, and now all of a sudden it's like, oh, are they under a bit of pressure? I mean, but I still think India have just supreme quality all over the park, and they do have depth. But you're missing, Shub McGill has been great for them since he's come into the side. He's obviously in a lull in different formats, particularly in tests. Hartley gets in for a duck today, just prodding at a ball. Nice catch from Ollie Pope. Jadeja is just so key for them to win test matches at home, and Kohli is just the batsman of a generation. So, you take those 3 guys sort of out of the equation / out of form, and it's like, it's going to be a little bit harder for him to win the next test match. We're jumping ahead there. I just want to shout out as well, like, how fucking satisfied, like, Tom Hartley's, like, if Tom Hartley has avoided the internet for the last few days, then that's one thing, but like how satisfied like his friends and family must be feeling. When your boy gets a shot at the big time, and then you jump online and you're just seeing like your mate getting fucking ripped to shreds, being like, what the fuck is this shit? This is the worst thing I've ever seen since a statue was erected in my city, which I've torn down recently. It's like you'd be fucking fired up, and then he goes out and takes 7 for 62 to literally win the game for England. I mean, the ball that gets KS Bharat is like, it was at that point where I was like, oh, England are going to win this game. And then even then they got it close, but I mean, just how satisfying it must be, not just for Hartley, but for friends and family. I'd be fucking starting all sorts of Twitter accounts and burner accounts, and I'd be like, yeah, fuck you.
Can you imagine his cock tricks in the showers? Like how he's going to go in the tubs.
Yes.
Big old rig slipping and sliding across. A few soap suds. Let's all get in there, boys. I'm pissing on anyone I want. It's your day, Tom. It's your day.
Do you know what I'd love? Because there's been a lot of chat about his salad. He's got a lot of hat hair going on, and I'm not one to judge about that. But I just love it if he turned up to the second Test match with like a dyed hair, or like a KP 2005, like just something. Like he's just been a turkey and he's got a rug done. He's bought into his own hype. I'd buy into that. I like that. That'd be good.
Big time. Hey, look, we happy with a couple of ASKTGCs here, Higgos? I put the question out.
Yeah. Nice.
Joe Brolly writes in and says, do we think that the ICC needs to step in and ensure that struggling nations like Australia and India receive the help they need in order to field competitive test teams? Here we go.
Yeah. I saw a tweet today. It actually might have been from George. Was it George DeBell might have said it? He's just like, world cricket needs a strong Australia. And I couldn't agree more. I think more funding needs to go to CA.
It's a great day to be an Aussie. Now, cricket Petum Josh says, I've got nothing here. Cricket Tapetum Josh. Will the banks of the Ganges be flooded with the tears of Indians? Hard to say. Just check online. Gaurav says, I think Australia and India should be commended for saving Test cricket and fueling the hope of the smaller nations. Tom Griff says, is today the best day of the 2023 Ashes?
I got to tell you, Pezza, in that moment, I am being greedy, but if only folks had stumped Bumrah to get the final wicket whilst he had missed the half track and then turned around and jumped in the air, and if folks had dismissed him, you know what, that would have really set off the Ashes promo for 2025. I guess we can't have it all today, but it was so close. So people who hadn't seen it, Hartley bowled a half tracker. Jasprit Bumrah, who was the last wicket, batting with Siraj at the time, went to go and smash it. He played and missed, and then, being annoyed at himself, he showed this emotion by turning around and jumping in the air. And at that moment, folks tried to take the stumps, and Bumrah just got back down to earth and touched down before folks. But I was like, oh, if Australia can have something today, can we just get? And we couldn't even get that. So it's just when it's not your day, it's not your day, Pezza.
Certainly not, but it was England's day today, he goes. And I think, all flowers, red carpet, everything. And I'll tell you what, it sets up the series deluxe because, I suppose you're only as good as your last game, but I sense a fair bit of vulnerability in India's team, and you're right. If Kohli's he's unavailable for the next match per his comments before the series started, and Jadeja may not be if a string is a string. The team already looks a little bit bereft without Virat there. Rohit was subdued in both innings. India, it's the nature of the loss and the command of the second innings, he goes, is what I think I'm trying to process, because the games where you see India succumb at home is normally when the deck has been cooked to lottery sort of ends, and one team just ends up on the right side of the lottery, and it has this equalizing effect. This was 2 days of I wouldn't say domination, but just 2 days of being fair and square on top of the opposition. Rohit had no levers to pull in the field. The triumvirate of spinners couldn't get it done. One of England's bats who didn't look like making a score over 10 has played one of the greatest innings in Test history and will be, to put it mildly, better for the run. So it sets up the series beautifully, because the manner of the victory means that England were just great value for it. There's no deck issues. It was just better cricket played with better tactics, better strategy, more proactive captaincy, and also just the total bump you would get in, mentality and attitude from turning around a 190-run deficit, and the corollary for India having succumbed to that, and their bowlers and their bats could not turn it around, facing Tom fucking Hartley, who's taken 7. I just think it's one of the great cricket wins for England, and the next 4 tests are going to be extremely interesting.
I mean, Ben Duckett was completely right when he said, we're exactly where we want to be.
Hey,
we want to be.
Got to take take those licks again, TGC. Goodness me.
Fucking hell.
Fucking hell, what a day.
I got to tell you, in my sporting life, Pezza, the manager of Liverpool, Jurgen Klopp's announced he's leaving.
Yeah,
Australia's just lost to a team that they were supposed to beat in about 1.5 sessions. And England have had one of their greatest ever away victories at the same time, at exactly the same time all these things are happening. You know what? It's Monday tomorrow. It's a new day. But this one's going to hurt.
So tune in, because that's normally when you do.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So hello and welcome back to
Hello,
everyone
England.
that's really upset. Yeah. Hello. Well done, boys. Well done.
I've always loved the 100.
All right. we'll be back for the main podcast, our longer form podcast tomorrow, available Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, YouTube, all the places you get your podcasts. It's a big show. It's going to be out tomorrow afternoon Australia time, so please do join us and enjoy it. Just enjoy today. Well done. Cry more.